this yours? Okay, I didn't think it was yours before. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's program where we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the renovations that are going on here on campus. Those of you who have been coming here for some time will certainly be aware that there are changes afoot. 3 years ago, we first started talking to you about some of the things that we had hoped to accomplish. Obviously, it's a long-term sort of thinking that's involved in any of this. But for 3 years ago, we started talking to our membership about it. Obviously, we had ideas, we had some visions about possibilities, but one of the facts about life in this world is that there is no possibility that doesn't have a price tag attached to it. So in that light, we spoke to our membership, and really, over the past 3 years, we have found that the generosity of our members and of some of our sections has really been quite heartwarming. So much so that at this point, we're about halfway toward the final sort of figure that we had envisioned in the beginning. During the course of Michiel's talk, he'll outline some of that. But we're very, very happy. And tonight, what we want to do, I think, as you know, we had targeted, really it was 4 specific buildings to start this process. Part of our campus here is that we have a number of heritage buildings. Heritage buildings is to say that we have buildings that are deemed of special significance here in the country of India. So we wanted to target, first of all, the buildings that were in a condition that required it, but also the ones that are used the most. So there was a sort of a standard that we applied. So what we came back with were the buildings that we would address first are the headquarters building behind us, the Raja House, which is right next to it, Blavatsky Bungalow, and then Leadbeater Chambers. So those would be the 4 that we would start with. In moving along, once we saw that the funds were in fact available, we identified Blavatsky Bungalow as the most compact sort of project that we could address. Nilesh Thakkar, who is the contractor who has undertaken that, will be telling you more about that in particular. But in July, the work was actually started. It's looking to be 9 months to a year before that building will be completed. But when it is completed, it's going to be a glorious addition to this campus, something we won't have to worry about for many, many years to come. Maybe Nilesh will talk about this, but one of the things that is typical to heritage structures in this area is a particular sort of technology that was really very highly developed for an area such as this that is so humid and so hot. Basically, the buildings breathe in their design. They were designed to take in water and to breathe out water, and in that process to cool the people that were living inside of them. Brilliant technology, one that was lost really with modernization. In our case, we had paints, probably in the 1950s, the wonders of these paints that you could put on the wall that would last a long time, sealed this breathing entity so that the water, instead of coming out, was contained within. When repairs were necessary to be done, instead of using the lime plaster, which was the technology that had been used in these properties, we resorted to the most contemporary item, the easiest one, concrete. And as a result, again, stopped the flow of the water through the building. All of these over time have taken their toll. Fortunately, a lot of these lost methods are being revived, and in large measure through the work of men such as Nilesh Thakkar. But probably at this point, I'm going to turn it over to him, and he can describe to you the process and show you some of the things that are going on, specifically with Blavatsky Bungalow, and then Michiel Haas from the Netherlands will take it from there and talk about the overall view. So, Nilesh?
We'll move the slides. Okay. So I thank Mr. Tim Boyd, Mr. Michael, Mr. Narsimhan, and all members associated with this project. We have been given a huge task, and it is an honor for us to execute this work. We are specialists, restorers of old buildings, and we have been appointed after due tests that were done. And so I need not go through my company profile again, because already the committee has gone through the profile. I'll straight away start with the restoration project that we are doing and why we are doing what we are doing. This is the building right now that we have with us, the Blavatsky Bungalow. As it says, this building was handed over to the society in 1908. And the age of the building, we are not sure. It must be around 140 years old. And since it is 140 years old, we can easily say that this building is a good building which has survived so long, and it has a huge potential to survive another 100 years. Of course, there are ifs and buts, but the building record itself says that these kind of buildings, they do last. If they are maintained well, they do last because they have the technology to last. So basically it's a load-bearing structure with Madras terrace, and it's a square building with verandas on all sides so that it gets good sunlight and air from all sides. And I need not go through the history, it must be with the society. So some important features of the building that we notice. There's a lot of materials used in the building which is interesting, like there are terracotta grills, terracotta jalis as we call it. These are the decorative features of the building. Then there are the ceramic tiles which are used in the railing. If you have noticed those green color tiles, they are also a very unique contribution in the building. Then there is a lot of pot balustrades. I'll show you some more when I go ahead. Then there are wonderful steps, the colonnades, the cornices, the artwork, and of course the lime plaster, which he said is an excellent material for such buildings. And there are a lot of pattern-based, color-based floorings in the building, which are very unique. Don't find it very easily in this part of the country. And there are some colored glasses, patterned glasses. And there are louvers in the windows which allow good ventilation from all sides. So what are we doing? What are we addressing? We analyzed we made a study and we analyzed the problems as shown here. There's water ingress from the roof and the walls, which is a very common problem if they are not maintained. And there's this rising dampness, which is very commonly seen in Chennai, especially because of the clay soil. In Madras Club also we have this problem. And many other buildings that I've seen in Chennai have this problem. It is not a very easy problem to solve. It has no ready-made solutions. But we have to tackle this problem in a step-by-step manner, which we will try to do it. And there are these structural members which are made of wood and bricks. So these have to be repaired. They have been, I think the major restoration work was taken up in 1960s, the last restoration. That was a major one, which we see traces of those works when we have taken up the work. There are some steel additions, some RCC additions, a lot of things that we see. We don't know the dates, but there was a major work which has happened in the building. There are some toilets which were added. Actually, the building was not designed to have toilets, and as you know, the use was being made as a residential quarter sometimes. So some toilets were added and they were causing some problems. The load, extra load was there on the building, the extra concrete was there. And we are trying to remove the toilets so that the building goes back to its original form. And we can shift the toilets to the next building, which is an RCC building. That is our plan. And there are these architectural features which I said they need restoration on a as is, where is, like for like material. In conservation, we try to stick to the same material as far as possible. Then, as we all need these buildings, we need the utilities. So electrical, plumbing also is a major work which is happening, and that depends on the use of the building which is going to happen. So there is a use plan which has been made, and accordingly the work is happening. So these are some of the problems. When we went to site, we found these vegetation growth, which is also a cause of water ingress. The tiles on the terrace, they're broken, they are leaking, and there have been a lot of work happening on the terrace. I found a record where it says in 1960s there was some bitumen on the terrace. So a lot of work has happened on the terrace which we don't know until now. When we open up after 15th of Jan, we will know exactly what work has happened in the past on the terrace. So these are the water issues which we have to handle. Stop the leakages from the walls, stop the leakages from the roof. This is a major work, and we have not yet started the roof work. We will be taking up after 15th Jan. But we have started the structural works. This is one more issue which I told you. Rising dampness is not an easy problem to solve. This requires a manifold approach. We have to take a number of steps to solve this problem, and we are working on the issues. We have to collect the rainwater, basically take it away from the building. That is the crux of the issue. And if still the problem continues, then we have to find some more solutions. There was cement plaster added, which, as he mentioned, which has caused lot of trapped moisture inside the walls. Trapped moisture is, it looks like it is a very simple thing, but it's not at all simple, because it weakens the walls. The pore pressure weakens the bricks, and thereby the bricks give away, and thereby the structure itself fails. There is an example which in Pondicherry recently a building has collapsed. It's called the Mary building. One of the reasons was this kind of dampness which was continuously happening in the building. Now the structural members, as I said, the work which is happening right now, we have been replacing all the bad members and repairing them based on the conservation principles. These toilets we are trying to remove, and we are trying to get the building back to the original shape. There is a balcony which was this balcony was also added later. It's a timber balcony with steel members, and we had to remove that because it's not a part of the original design. Then there are these architectural features, as I said, that are very unique to the building, and we are trying to restore all of this. These are the utilities, the toilets which I mentioned, and we are trying to shift the toilets out of the building, which is a new RCC building which can take these kind of facilities. So these are the steps that have been taken by us. And during the course of the work, we found the foundations also required some strengthening. There was a soil consolidation required because the structure which was added behind the building, there is a porch behind the building, was not made with the building. Of course, it was added later, and the foundations were not sufficient enough to take the loads. So we saw some signs of cracks and settlements when we started the work. So that part of the work we handed over to experts who can handle the soil consolidation. He'll be talking about that. So this is our approach to restoration. We'll go in details now. So work was started on 28th June. We started by removing all the extra soil which had gathered around the building, so as to expose the plinth as much as possible. It can breathe easily. Now when we take up an old building, it's like handling an old man. It has to be handled very carefully. And basically, it's a kind of surgery that we are doing. So a lot of precautions have to be taken. So we try to cover up all the old material, the old precious material, and try to preserve it so that we don't damage it during the course of the work. So some of these things like POP, we put it on the floor and protect it while working. This plywood, this is meant to protect the ceramic tiles, which are very unique, and they are an example for the country. So we are trying to see that we don't damage the building further while working. These are the toilets and extra walls which were added because it was used as a part-time accommodation. Unnecessary load was there, a lot of brickwork, a lot of tiling, concrete. We removed all those things. Now the building is back to its original form. See, these blue things that you see, these are the things on the ground floor that were added, the toilets. They were stopping the circulation of the building. Actually, the veranda is connected on all four sides. But due to these toilets, it was blocking all the ventilation and the passages. So at present now, we have removed that. So there is a good circulation. It is back to its original form. This is on the first floor, there was a toilet there, here. And this is the block that I was saying that we'll shift all the toilets on this side. So we have removed this. Now the building is back to its original form. This is the part that was settling, due to which we had to do the soil consolidation. Otherwise the building is quite strong. It's actually in a much better state than other buildings that I have seen, because it hardly has any structural issues in the masonry. Of course, the wood, because of non-maintenance, it was not in a good shape, but the walls as such, they are in a good shape and very sturdy. We removed this balcony to get it back to its original form. It was not at all fitting into the architecture. Now there were some cracks, as I said, on the rear side where that porch was added and the foundations were insufficient. So we had to stitch the cracks by inserting granite lintels. This is one of the technique to stitch the masonry, and grouting under pressure with lime-based slurries, so that the wall is the plinth is consolidated, and the soil has to be tackled now. This is the soil consolidation work which happened, and Mr. Narasimhan, he knew a few experts in Chennai who could undertake this soil consolidation. So he'll speak about the soil consolidation part. That is also a very interesting thing which has happened in this project. He has been with us as a project consultant right from the beginning, and he comes almost on a daily basis, maybe thrice in a week, and he has been guiding us quite a lot. So I'll request him to speak a few words about this grouting of the soil and consolidation of the soil.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. See, this building, when we came and saw, and when we started removing the unwanted material all around, and then looking at the plinth, we found a lot of cracks, vertical cracks in the plinth area towards the foundation. And then to ascertain how deep or how much it has gone, we dug in several places up to the bottom of the foundation and found that the cracks were going directly up to the bottom of the foundation. And of course, those cracks were stitched and repaired by Mr. Nilesh Thakkar, which he showed that granite slabs have been inserted and done. But we found that in the backside, where the veranda has been added, the floor has gone down in some areas, and the floor had a lot of cracks. Other than the foundation cracks, even the floor had cracks and signs of sinking. So then we thought something should be done to it, because you're spending so much of money, and tomorrow if again sinking takes place, it will be a waste. So I talked to Professor Shantakumar. He was Dean of College of Engineering, Guindy, and also Professor Emeritus of Indian Institute of Technology. He is a senior structural engineer. I talked to him, and he sent his assistant to inspect, and he suggested that we do a soil test to see what is the load-bearing capacity of the soil around. So on both sides of the building, we did soil test and found that it was a silty soil. And then he suggested that we should do strengthening of the foundation. That is underpinning, what they call it is underpinning. So under the foundation, you strengthen it. So to that, what was done was, the foundation is like this, and we inserted a pipe like this, 5 meters long pipe, 4 inches dia, 100 dia was drilled and inserted, and then a 2 inches pipe was sent inside. Then with a special pump, slurry of cement and fly ash was pumped in with 7 kgs per centimeter square pressure, so that it goes in and spreads all over under the foundation where there was slackness, and strengthened it. So this was done every meter around the building, at every meter distance this was done. And to prevent further damage, they wanted a concreting done. So when in the same hole, after this pumping was done, a 3 inches galvanized pipe was inserted for 5 meters length, and then it was concreted. So the whole pipe, now if you go around that building, you will find all over, you will find a small butt of GI pipe budding out, and that is been done only to, so that, now the whole building all around is held like this by those pipes, every meter, so that lateral shifting or sinking both are prevented. So this process has been done by a company from Salem. They are the one who do the job. All over Tamil Nadu they only do. So they came and we appointed them, and they came and did that. And this concreting is called micropiling. So this micropiling has been done, and now this building cannot sink or laterally shift with any conditions of weather, and this is a thing that has been done. So we are sure that the building will last, as Nilesh was telling, for another 100 years without any problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Narasimhan. So we'll continue with this. These are some of the photos of the grouting of the soil and consolidation which has happened. Now, a very important thing, like this is important for me, it may not be important for others. Dismantling of cement plaster. This has to be done very carefully with old buildings, because in Madras Club we had a collapse because people were dismantling cement plaster from brick pillars in an old building. So almost 8 pillars fell down, and they had to spend a lot of money to re-erect that. So it's a very important activity. So we had to carefully cut the plaster before removing the plaster, so that there are no vibrations to the old building. So these kind of small things, they do matter. See, he's cutting the plaster with a machine, and then only he is chipping off the plaster. This avoids vibrations on the building. Now we come to the wooden rafters. A lot of rafters in this building were not in a good shape, and we had to replace a lot of them. So we had to check each and every rafter. There is a wooden rafter, as you notice in the ceiling. This is a wooden rafter which transfers the load to the wall and the pillars. If this is not in a good shape, there are chances of collapse. So, of course, 1 or 2 here and there doesn't matter, but if there are many which are failing, then there's a good case for collapse. So we had to check each and every rafter. So we went about by opening all the rafter ends. The ends of the rafters were opened up here on both sides to check whether there is a wood rot happening. And if there was no wood rot, we had to leave it alone. If there was a wood rot, we had to do some things which I'll show you. And we had to also do a hammer test on the rafters to check whether the rafter is in a good shape or not. So these are some of the things that we had to do to take care of this. See, this yellow thing that you see is a sleeve which we insert if the wood is rotted in the end. Why should we replace a rafter if the end is only rotten and if the rest of the rafter is good? Let's say 80% of the rafter is good and only 20% on the end, which is usually the case because moisture in the walls, it attacks that end only. So this is a very nice technique to save that rafter. And we insert a sleeve at the end, as you see it here. This takes care of the structural part. It transfers the load onto itself. And we also leave an air gap, as you see here. After the sleeve is fitted, we leave an air gap, whether it is wood or steel. It should breathe, so that if there is any moisture coming near that rafter, it should come out or it should evaporate. So this air gap didn't exist before, but we have introduced this air gap and it works well. So this is one of the technique, how we have repaired the rafters. The other technique is, of course, if the rafter is bad, we have to replace it 100%. We cannot save anything from the rafter, then we have to go for a 100% replacement. This is the third technique that we have used. Let's say if the rafter is 50%, it has gone and 50% is good. So what do? We try to recycle that 50% by connecting it with another 50% rafter. This is what has happened here. It's a traditional joint, Kerala style. Our Kerala carpenters are very good at this. And it doesn't require any nails or screws or anything. It is just joined to another rafter which has been dismantled. So we try to recycle as much as old wood so that we don't spend more money buying wood. And each and every piece of wood is recycled back into the building. And we insert one kadapa piece. As I told you, we leave an air gap, plus we insert a kadapa piece. There he is inserting that kadapa piece below the rafter, which is another precaution we take so that the brick doesn't get crushed below the rafter. Now the restoration of the wooden beams. This was a major challenging work for the building as such. Replacing a rafter is very easy, but replacing a wooden beam of that size, this you can see this giant size. This size has to be lifted and put over there. So it's a very challenging task, and some of the beams are not even straight, they are in an arch shape, they are in circular shape. So our carpenters are good at handling all this. This is the circular beam I was talking about. See the condition of the old beam? This is the condition of the old wood that we found. I have an account of how many beams and rafters have been replaced. I will show you. So these things are lifted and inserted in that position. In the same position without disturbing the mattress terrace without disturbing any load transfer. So we have to support, as you see these things, we have to support all the rafters, all the load has to be transferred on these props, and then only we have to do that thing, that beam transfer. So it is a risky operation, but luckily we have been having good people and we have been able to achieve it. That's the beam which is replaced. Of course, all this wood has to be treated with anti-termite. It has to be painted at the end so that it does not absorb the moisture. We apply a bitumen paint where it comes in contact with the wall and the ceiling. So these are some of the extra precautions. Now this is an account of the total beams and rafters replaced. The sleeves, almost 16 beams have been replaced, 187 rafters. Rafters recycled are 40 numbers, sleeves are 119 numbers, those steel cappings that I showed you. This is as on 2nd January. There is some more work which is remaining, which is almost 10% of the work remaining. These are some of the interesting things that we see in the building, and we found almost 4 varieties of these tiles on the railing. And we were confused as to what should we do now. So we decided that we will go for a design which is more in numbers. So we found 2 designs which were more in numbers, and we ordered that for the restoration. So these things have been ordered in Mumbai, and some expert is working on that, and it will reach us in maybe another 15 days. We had to order almost 110 numbers. These are very interesting things. You don't see these easily in old buildings. It's a very unique thing here. And these balustrades also are very unique that you see. There are 3 varieties, and we had to select now which variety should we restore. So we found the majority of them had this terracotta insertion, this thing. Majority of them had a terracotta double cone inside the baluster. This is one variety we found, but these are the major ones. So maybe these are originals, and this is then plastered with lime. So we chose to go for these variety, and whatever restoration we are doing in this style. So this is the baluster work which is happening. It's all lime mortar and coir ropes, terracotta. These are the terracotta grills which are being restored. Fortunately, we didn't fall short of any terracotta grills. We could recycle most of them. These are the templates that we make for making some cornices, moldings in lime plaster. This helps us in retaining the exact shape of the lime plaster. And this is how the lime plaster is made. We have a plant in Velankani where we are working on the Velankani church. So this is a grinder which grinds the sand and the lime, and the lime is prepared in this fashion. It is slaked under water, it is filtered, and then it is put into the machine. So this machine almost for, it depends on the use, almost 15 minutes if we put on the machine, it makes the lime mortar, and then there is a process again before using it. But this is the basic technology. In olden days, how the people used to make. We have one more plant in Anegundi near Hampi, which is a bullock driven. So that's a real old-fashioned lime mortar machine we have. That makes a better mortar actually than these kind of machines. And this we have not started, but I'm just showing you that we will be doing this kind of traditional waterproofing using lime and brick pieces on the terrace. And it works very well if it is protected with clay tiles. It has a life is much more than cement waterproofing. So this work is yet to happen. Hopefully it will happen during the month of January. So these are some of the works that we are doing, and we'll be doing much more, but right now I don't have any slides to show that. If you have any questions, I am happy to take them. Thank you.
Good evening, brothers and sisters, and other hierarchies in the audience and abroad, and also hello Helma. It's an honor for me to be here and present for the third time updates about the Adyar renovation. Well, what can you expect tonight from me? Who are the people who are doing the real work? And I tell a little bit about the progress of the restoration, and there is a little doubling in. What about the plans for lead-peter chambers? What about the plans for the archives? And what are the plans for the nearby future? And how much money was raised in the meantime? The 2 years, we only had 2 years money fundraising. And how do we inform you about the results? Well, the team on the ground is a quite important team. They are really the most important. They have to do all the essential work. I want to introduce to you these people who are working tirelessly on the background. That's why I refer to them as the team on the ground. With their feet in Adyar's soil, they are doing the real job. This is the EC subcommittee that coordinates the maintenance and the other infrastructural work. From the left to the right, you see first Mr. Somanathan, the left one, head maintenance, Mrs. Maya Artema, you all know her of course, international secretary, Mr. Ram Kumar, general manager, he just peeps about it. Then we have Mrs. Shirley Penn from maintenance, Mr. Tiragarajan, also from maintenance, Mr. Kausik, a guest in this case, Mrs. Nancy Seekers, international treasurer, and Mr. Jai Kumar, coordinator for the president. And I know he doesn't like it what I'm doing now. Oh. But this is Mr. Jai Kumar, the silent force in the background. He coordinates all the work. I have seen him busy on the job and I was impressed. We'll show you why. For each meeting of the subcommittee, he presents an agenda, which through his laptop is projected on the wall, so that everybody can follow the proceedings. For the members of the subcommittee, it is clear what they need to do. For example, he would ask, "What have you done since our last meeting?" Or, "How is the progress of the project? Do you need more money, or more time? And when are you able to finish it?" After the response, it is ongoing to the next subject. Mr. Jaikumar also draws up the minutes of the meeting, so the to-be-done tasks are clear and all know what to do. The minutes also indicate what amounts of money are required for the various budgets, so we can pass these on for the President's sanction. On the wall in the background, on the whiteboard, there are always numerous projects that need attention. The complete staff of the hard-working maintenance department. Just have a good look, these are the people. But there are more. The administration department also weighs in. Here on a photo with the former general manager, the former and the new treasurer, and the office staff. I'm standing here in front of you, taking to you who the people behind all the work are, what has been achieved so far, and what still needs to be done over the next period. We'll share with you what the plans are for the future on the Adyar campus. I'm an architect. 27 years ago, together with my wife Helma, I mentioned her already, I said hello to her, she's looking at home. We started our NIBE, a consultancy for sustainable building. Time marches on, and now there are younger people working there. They are the people who are doing the work now, so I have actually said goodbye for just 1 week to that company, as I did the same for a few years to the university. But still I feel the urge to remain active. Therefore, my wife and I have now established Nibex Green for a sustainable and healthy built environment. This leads me to my current position here at Adyar. What is my function? Well, I call it CCO. A lot of people don't know what it means. I didn't know it before my son used it, but now I know it also. It means Creative Chief Officer for the renovation. Together with the international president, I began exploring ideas involving renovation projects. And I showed many of these plans during my presentations over the last 2 years. Detailed information regarding these ideas can be found on the special renovation website, The Elephants. If you are not a subscriber to the newsletter, The Elephants, I would say just do it, because then you get your information. One of the nicest things is I have made this presentation in wide view, but we can't have here wide view, so my slides are always a little bit in another way as I made them. That's a pity, but it is like it is. Our first main project has taken off, Blavatsky Bungalow. Details were shared with you by the previous speakers. I want to briefly make some comments regarding the project and its implementation. On June 14, 2016, the contract for the renovation of Blavatsky Bungalow was signed by Tim Boyd Electronic and Nilesh Thakkar. A few months later, and it's, I would say just a month later, Nilesh and his company Geonodar Conservators PVT commenced with the work. From the outside, Blavatsky Bungalow seemed to be solid and a beautiful building. But it had serious issues because of leakage and lack of proper maintenance. During the restoration, added parts were removed from the building. For instance, these old-looking wooden construction, as Nilesh also told already before. This is how it started. It's obvious that the building is under reconstruction. When I came on location and saw how carefully the work was done by Geonodar Conservators, I was very impressed. Just to give you one striking example, and Nilesh told already about it, but he don't know how special it is, I guess. Just to give you one example, the floor, as you can see on the slide, was first covered with plastic layer, and then later another layer was added in order to protect and maintain the original tiles. I have in my room lots of mosquitoes, and here there are also lots of mosquitoes. I don't know, I think they like me very much, but they are really coming to me now. All later, not authentic additionals were removed from the terraces. On the left you see the previous situation with several quarters next to the row of pillars. On the right you see the current situation. Now it is possible to walk around on the ground and the first floor. On the left, the former situation with the toilets on the terraces. On the right, you see the current corridor on the first floor. Now, I want to go to the plans, our next big project, that Peter Chambers. The present situation is poor accommodation facilities. I think everybody who lives, who is a guest in LBC, knows how it works. Leakage damage throughout the building, concrete in worrisome condition, with 4 to 6 people in one room, without privacy, no separate sanitation. What are our possibilities? Well, renovate the whole building, divide the big rooms into 2, of course, smaller rooms then, cover the old staircases to bathrooms for the new rooms. Convert, of course. This monumental and wonderful looking building has serious technical and structural issues. Addressing the problems now will avoid structural problems in the future. I will show some of them. At times 4 to 6 people are allocated in the same room. The guests, however, prefer to be with a maximum of 2 persons in one room and require a proper private bathroom with clean, warm water from the shower, not out of the bucket. So if we have to renovate the building because of technical reasons, and we have to do that, we also can modernize it to a basic standard at the same time. It starts with leakage somewhere. Then the steel in a reinforced concrete starts rusting. After that, you see small cracks. because rusted steel expands and is bigger than steel in a good condition. The rusting continues and the cracks become bigger. Consequently, parts of the concrete will fall. Bigger parts of concrete will continue to fall. This will result into the fact that by the end the steel is fully exposed and will rust even faster. So the whole structure of the building will be endangered. For those who are staying at the LBC now, don't be afraid. And do not panic. For the time being, we are still far from this critical situation. But it shows you this since now is the time we need to start with the renovation. Waiting and delaying will only result in higher costs. And once we are renovating the building, we should also improve LBC's accommodations. Here you see the floor plan of the floors of LBC. Big rooms en suite with a primitive bathroom, and on the riverside you see the unused staircases. Did you know that were staircases? We have lots of them, but we never use them. These are the rooms, this is the bathroom. And here you see the not used staircases, and we can change these into bathrooms. The new plan divides the big room into 2 separate rooms, and every room has its private bathroom, partly located in the very same location where the staircases used to be. This means that new staircases on both ends of the building need to be constructed. With this renovation, we double the number of available units from now 28 to 60 afterwards. That's a little bit more as double because they use downstairs, we use them also. And enhance their durability, quality and basic comfort. I must underline the word basic, since we have by no means plans to convert LBC into some luxury hotel. We'll construct a double wall between both parts of the current room, so you can't hear noises from your neighbor, but if you wish, you can ask for 2 rooms and open the doors in between. It looks like we started already. That's not true. But we made a mock-up just to show you what it will be afterwards. The single room for 2 persons is renovated. This is just an example to demonstrate what it will look like. It's also important to have good ventilation, of course, because we don't have the cross ventilation anymore. So ventilation is an important part, and you see here we make work of that. In the real renovation, it will be in another way, the solution, but we have to improvise here. I show you some photos from the new mock-up, the new room. This is the bathroom. Itself will be newly constructed with all the facilities a modern bathroom needs to be equipped with. Tiled until the ceiling, hot and cold water, toilet and sink. If possible, we'll start at LBC with the sustainable measurements. For instance, the roof will, with PV cells and hot water tubes, could provide energy not only for LBC. We have the intention to make LBC an example of sustainability. I will wait you. But of course, we need sponsors. It is possible to sponsor one room or more if you want, with $5,000 or 3.2 lakh rupees or 4,200 euro. You make it possible that we can renovate one room. And then you get a table on the wall near the door with your name on, saying, this room was made possible by, well, what's nice if it was your name there. Sponsoring is open now. From now on, it's possible to sponsor one or more rooms. In total, we have 60 rooms to sponsor. 6 rooms have been already reserved. So be quick. If somebody is interested, please contact me during the convention or afterwards. These are the people who are already, Rob and Mercedes van Vloten, they spent already one room. The HPP Lodge of the Theosophical Society in New Zealand wants to have one room to sponsor. This man, Amu Bhai Raval, would like to sponsor 3 rooms, and there is already one with no name on it. So, you are welcome. The mock-up is LBC room number 30. We will open it tomorrow between 1 and 2 p.m. just after lunch, that you can have a look inside and look, well, how it feels like to have a new room. I go to the next subject, the archives. Here also, the present situation is not acceptable. We have leakage in the building. It is too close to the river. It is a wrong location in case of floods. It is not functional any longer. Plaster is falling down from the ceiling, and people are a little bit afraid working in the rooms. What are our possibilities? Well, we think we should merge library and archives into a new and fully functional, accessible International Theosophical Research Center. The Library and Research Center in its current state. Inside the building there is sufficient space to accommodate archives staff. We need to redecorate some of the rooms in the existing building, and the fully equipped professional archives need to be installed in a separate annex. That space could be located on the backside of the library. On this side of the building there is enough space to build that separate archives box, safe and fully acclimatized. No. Acclimatized, thank you. That's always a difficult word for me. Once I will learn it. On that place. It's quite easy to erect it on this place here. And in order to safely keep and maintain the precious materials that are kept here. A new archives box could look very much like this. The green part is the atrium garden of the library. On the left side, you see the archives box. This part. That's the newly archives box, which will be newly erected. On the right side, you see the offices, which will be located in the vacant part of the existing library building. This part. We would like to start this mega project in 2018, that means this year, depending on the money available. We still need some $30,000 and of course permission from the government. It looks like I'm always begging about money, but if you have plans, you need money. It's clear like that. Plans for the future. It is time to think about the next 5 years plan. We have lots of ideas, but not yet worked out. I could do like I did last year and give an overview of the amount of work that was done by the local team, but I won't. Instead, I will share with you some possible future ideas. But this particular photo I would like to show you as an example of the ongoing renovation. This photo was taken during a small celebration when the third drinking water tap of 2017 was delivered last October. And we all got something to drink. Cheers, Mr. Boyd. July 2015, I presented to the EC the first 5-year plan as a part of the whole 20 years renovation plan, existing of 4 5 years plans. The first one was worked out. The others will be worked out over time. As a summary, of course we have to think about the next 5-year plan, but I want to give a summary of the first 5-year plan. The first 5-year plan was about restoration of Blavatsky Bungalow. We started that. The renovation of LBC. It is in progress. The renovation of headquarters building is still laying down. Find a solution for the archives. It's going on, and I think we are quite far for that possibility. Start with working on the hugely deferred maintenance issues. We did. The team on the ground did it, and did already very, very much, but it is so much to do that they still have to go on for 15 years, I guess. And fundraising target, we had a target for 1 million. The second 5-year plan could cover new accommodations for delegates, for instance, Vasanta Guest House with possible 60 apartments. A fully equipped vegetarian restaurant with possibilities for lectures and workshops all year round. An international school and vocational training center. Continue with the deferred maintenance of buildings and infrastructure. Could cover. I also want to give an outlook at the end result in 2035. It's far away, but you need your ideas. Ideal would be a fully renovated estate. There is no deferred maintenance any longer. A self-supporting estate dealing with energy, water, waste, even food, etc. The estate to become financially self-supporting. Yeah, of course. Then we have to say a little bit about fundraising. 2 years ago, our international president, Tim Boyd, started at the convention 2015-2016, the fundraising campaign, just 2 years ago. Goal is to get within 5 years $1 million to be able to implement the ideas of the first 5-year plan. We are now 2 years after the kickoff, and we have raised a little bit more as $500,000. This is including the promised but not yet paid money. Maya Madras, perhaps you remember her from last year. She will, you see her on the picture here, and she will walk around and ask you for some money for our project, as she did last year. She will do that not only today, because today is a short day, but until the end of the convention. And I show you the ball. How do we inform you about the results? To be informed goes fast and easy through internet or email. There is a special renovation website. Here you see the URL. The website is called The Elephants, and so is the newsletter. The homepage of the website. From here you can choose to look for the projects, our philosophy, the progress, fundraising, etc. Through the newsletter, The Elephants, you are always informed about important events in the Adyar and the upgrading of the campus. To give you one example, 2 days after the cyclone, this newsletter was published. Towards the end of October 2017, The Elephants number 8 came out with information about the renovation of Blavatsky Bungalow and a nice interview with a new man running the animal dispensary. I'd like to thank you for listening and your kind attention. I hope I could give you some insight and a transparent overview over what has been achieved and what is not quite done yet. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank our 3 presenters, and I'd like to also thank you all for your patience in sitting through what is a detailed, necessarily detailed description of the many things that are going on and some of the views of what lies ahead. So as you can see, I was sitting over there watching, and I was getting tired thinking about all the work we've done, and more so about what is yet to come. But it's happening. One of the things that you will see as you return year after year is that every single year there are going to be things that you will see that were not there last year. I would expect that by next year at this time, if we don't run into snags with governmental regulations, you'll be able to tour the new archive building that we would hope to have up by that time. So anyway, thank you again for your patience, and just wanted to give you a glimpse into some of the details of this restoration work. So now you can go in peace.